just truly a phenomenon. Herbalife was the fastest growing privately held company in America. We were on the cover of Inc. magazine. You know, #1 fastest growing company in America. We were doing TV shows where we would film opportunity meetings, okay? And those things were kind of crazy. Our product testimonials were, you know, okay, a little bit much. A lot of weight loss, but then also people making medical claims and all kinds of things. And then it came to the income testimonials, and we were making so much money, and we were young, and this was on TV, and people were calling in. There was an 800 number to call to join the opportunity, and it attracted so much attention, and it attracted the attention of the pharmaceutical companies, the US government, big lobbies against us because the nutritional companies wanted to control us. And guess what happened? I woke up one day and the newspaper said Herbalife kills a woman. Or a woman dies using Herbalife products. And we're like, what? This is just food. What do you mean? Well, it turns out she died in a car accident. And she was using Herbalife. But this was, you know, in the news every single day, headlines like this, and the government was coming after us. And they said, okay, Mark Hughes, we are forming a Senate subcommittee to investigate weight loss companies, and we need you to appear before this Senate subcommittee. And so, you know, we were scared to death. We were scared. The US government is coming after our company. And we decided, though, that we would all fly to Washington, D.C. and go to the hearing with Mark and support him that day. So here we are. We're going to meet at the hotel, the Hyatt Regency, meet at the hotel, and then walk with him to the Senate building. And I remember we were all so scared. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to know how Mark is going to handle this by when he comes down the elevator and the doors open and I see him, I'm going to know how he'll handle this. And so we were all waiting in the elevator to open and close and open and close, and different people were coming out. And then all of a sudden, the doors open, and Mark walks out. He's got his big news weight down, ask me how button up on. He walks out of that elevator and says, let's go, gang. And I knew it was going to be okay. I knew it was going to be okay. And here we are, we walked, look at him. By this time, 28 years old. The US government is telling you that they're going to put you out of business. And we're walking like a lamb to the slaughter. And he looks like that. And we had all decided that we would meet at this certain building at the end at that night. So we walked down there. Here we are. We recognize some of the people in there. There's a fresh face right there at the front. Big smile on my face, but we're all scared. We got to the Senate building, and they wouldn't let any of us in. So they let Mark in with a doctor and a lawyer. And all day long, they were rude, they were arrogant, they were saying things like, what makes you think that you could start a company like this and bring in all this money and show it on TV, and all these people are losing weight, and you know, just rude and arrogant all day long, questioned him. And finally, at the end of the day, they said, would you like to make a statement? And he said, yes, I would. And there's a video clip of this, and it's unbelievable, because his lawyer, the video clip is from the side, and he's sitting here, and his lawyer is sitting here. And Mark says, what I want to know is if you're such experts on weight loss, why are you all so fat? It seems to me like you ought to be taking our products. Saying that to the United States government. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? Do you have that confidence? Do you have that passion? I mean, we get scared just to talk to somebody about the business opportunity or somebody about the product. Rise up and know that there is something very special about what we do, that we have the ability to transform people's lives. And do not be afraid. Be proud of what we do. So I'll never forget, sorry. What does a 28-year-old man do after spending a day being told that they're going to put you out of business? What does a 28-year-old man do that night? You know what he did? He did a business opportunity meeting. I'm telling you, it was the most phenomenal thing I think I've ever seen. Here's this guy walked across the stage that night and said, we're going to change the nutritional habits of the world one person at a time. Even more confidently than he had the week before or the first year. After a day like that, this is who we are. Okay, this is where we came from. This is our legacy. This is our genetics. It was really, really tough. We called it the Dark Ages. From 1985 to 1992, those were the Dark Ages. It was really, really tough to do business. Okay? But I remember, what was I going to do? Go back to being a dental hygienist? This quote that I read, I think it was maybe Oliver Wendell Holmes, the mind once stretched by a new idea never regains its former dimension. Once your mind has seen something different, can you ever go back from there? Could you ever go back to being a solicitor, Alan? Could you ever, could I ever go back to doing this? Can you imagine? Okay, once you paint a picture for people and help them experience this, and I don't just mean the money, I mean the feeling, the experiences. It's really, really tough for them to get it out of their mind. Okay? When Mark Hughes died, so many people thought we were done. He was the guru, he was the face of Herbalife. And nobody knew what was going to happen. We were a little afraid. But in hindsight, Mark Hughes prepared us so well. He gave us leadership opportunities. He created an organization of leaders. We all took on his mission and made it our own. I remember after he died reading this A legacy is created only when a person puts his organization into the position to do great things without him. Isn't that what Mark did? And thankfully, now we have Michael Johnson. I remember when he came from Disney, and everybody expected him to be the branding guru. And what are you going to do to build this brand? And I remember being in the training where he said the brand rests with the experience that the customer has with the distributor. Okay, what's the feeling that people get when they're with us? Even with each other, we are the brand. We've heard that before, right? But we truly are the brand. The way that we show up in the public, the way that we show up with each other, the way that we work together or don't work together, we are the brand, and the brand rests with the experience that people have with us. So think about that every day when you get up in the morning and walk out the door. People think of you as Herbalife. So we are the people who can control that. I'm so proud that Mark Hughes started the Herbalife Family Foundation. Alan, you're cut out of the photo. Sorry about that, buddy. But Alan was there for the opening of the very first Casa Herbalife. You can see his little chin and nose smiling down at Mark. There he was. He loved children. Mark was from the wrong side of the tracks. He was a child at risk. He did grow up in a horrible situation. And so he really wanted to help people like him, kids like them, get a better start. And so that is part of who we are at Herbalife, very much in our genetics as well. I'm so thankful that we're able to, I remember, when growing up, my mother was very, she'd make dinner and she'd always make extra and take the dinner to somebody that was in the hospital or, somebody that needed a little extra help. That was always, a part of just growing up. That's just what you did when you had extra. And so the best thing that we've been able to experience, I know that I love having the shoes and I love having a beautiful home. One of the things that is more fun than spending the money is giving the money away. Abundance in our life. This is a photo that some of you know that we went to Haiti after the earthquake. This is a photo that somebody took of my daughter and I. Shared a moment here where after the earthquake, most of the aid went to Port-au-Prince for the main city, but there was all these villages that didn't get anything. They were so far out of the way that they didn't get to receive any of this aid. And so we got to go there and help them out. And this is a scene at a dock where in Port-au-Prince they shoved all these kids and people on a boat and sent them down the ocean to a village called Jeremy. And this was the dock where the kids getting off the boat. Their parents had died in the earthquake, 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6 years old, getting off the boat and nobody's there. They just got shoved on a boat and arrived in a strange place. And here we are seeing these kids walking around like with nothing and nobody greeting them. And the whole scene was just so indescribable that we could do nothing but just stand there and hug each other. It's important for our kids to experience these things. This is not reality that we grow up with for most people. And thankfully, with Herbalife, we get to experience these things because of the great abundance that we have in our life. here. What this is Dr. Luigi. We got to be a part of this organization called Peace Jam, where we got to work with Nobel Peace Laureates, and there was a reception the night before this dinner, or this lunch that we put on for fundraising. And I saw this guy across the room yawning. So I went up to him and I said, I think you're going to need this. And he looked at it and, he thought it was, what? And he's looking like, but I'm like, no, it's an energy drink. And so we were laughing about that, and I made him a lift off. And later I found out it was the president of Poland. It doesn't matter who anyone is, okay? We're all the same, right? He needed a lift-off, so give him out a lift-off and talk to him about our product. So the next day, my husband and I put on this lunch with 10 Nobel Peace Laureates, and it was a fundraiser, so what we did was we had a Nobel Peace Prize winner at every table. We had 10 tables. And I was going to sit with Oscar Arias, the president of Costa Rica, because we had just opened Costa Rica, so I thought, So Dr. Luigi said Archbishop Desmond Tutu was going to be there. So he said, oh, can I come? Because I want to meet Desmond Tutu. Because we had just opened up South Africa, we were opening clubs down there. And here's a photo of Dr. Luigi and Desmond Tutu, my daughter and I. And here we are just, there's Desmond Tutu. We're just having a good laugh. When I walked in, somebody had taken my seat at the table with Oscar Arias. So I didn't have a seat, and somebody said, well, go sit over there. So I sit down, and in walks the Dalai Lama and sits right next to me. And I'm just like, what a life, My husband and daughter were at the table. Here we are. We're like this. Next to the Dalai freaking Lama here. This is unbelievable. So when we were talking about how in third world countries, women don't get educated and they end up in the sex trade, and it was a very serious conversation. And I said, sometimes in our country we do get educated and we do have these careers, and it's really difficult because, we feel a pull away from our children, and there's that conflict there. And he said to me, no. This is not a problem for you. I had explained to him what we did with Herbalife. And I said, why do you say that? You know what he said to me? Dalai Lama, for heaven's sakes. He said, as long as you're out in the world looking after other people's children, the world will look after your children. Pretty phenomenal. And I'm sitting there thinking, Mark, take a look at this. I'm looking across the room, there's Luigi talking to Desmond Tutu about nutrition clubs. I mean, it's just a phenomenal thing. So many things I love about Herbalife. But have you ever been at an event where you see the flags flying of all these countries around the world, and some of these countries are at war with each other, but everyone's standing with their arms around each other, flying their flags, because we're all united in that higher mission, right, of changing the nutritional habits of the world. I love that. Again, I love having a beautiful home. I love to travel. I love making the money to have this great abundance, to have all these options and opportunities in life. But I'll never forget the very first time that I really realized how much gratitude I had for the company. Alan's asked me to tell this story, and I don't know if I can actually do it. But she was the brightest, the prettiest, the most talented. She was a classical pianist. And I loved my sister, Karen. And imagine this, I'm living in Denver, she's in Calgary, and I get the phone call from my mother that your sister's been diagnosed with cancer. And it looks like it's going fast. And you know, when you get that news, you get that phone call, it's pretty life-changing just to hear the news. And I remember getting on the next plane. She was going to have surgery a couple of days later. Getting on the next plane, going up there to be with her when she came out of her surgery. And imagine getting there and looking at each other, knowing that this was probably it. You have so much love for them. And I remember that feeling like it was yesterday. They come together to take her for surgery, and she's on the stretcher, and I remember they took her onto the elevator, and I was standing there, and she looked up and waved to me. So, the surgery was about 3 or 4 hours. 17 hours later, they finally came down and said that she was out of surgery. It happened to be, my mother and I and my other sister took turns. It happened to be on my watch. So I went up to the recovery room, and there was my sister. Of her body missing from here all the way down, with gone, just laying there with one leg. And looking at her, I didn't recognize her at all. But I was able to stay there as long as it took. Thanks to Herbalife. I didn't have a boss that I had to ask for time off work. I had the money to fly back and forth as often as I wanted to. And when she recovered, came out of her surgery and woke up, I was able to stay there for several days and sleep in the room with her. And one thing we didn't have a lot in common, my sisters and I, one thing we all have in common was that we could see the humor in almost anything. And so we were making jokes. She would say, I would give my right leg to have some ice cream. And she said, oh wait, I did give my right leg. So, you know, little things like that. I gave her a pedicure on that one foot, and we were singing songs from our childhood, from that generation. I know Alan would remember the songs. Petula Clark, Downtown. Remember that, Alan? Petula Clark, Downtown. How about Please Don't Talk to the Lifeguard? We would sit there, we would lay there, she would lay there, and I would see her face singing those songs from our childhood, laughing, laughing and crying and laughing and crying, and then she died. And when I think of my sister now, those are the moments that I think about, that I wouldn't have been able to have if it wasn't for Herbalife. That's what I really appreciate. I want you to do something and put yourself at the head of this table. You are the head of the table for your organization. Could you grow a multi-billion-dollar business from the head of your table? Can you paint the picture like Mark has painted for us from the head of your table? Do you have the passion, the audacity, the vision, the tenacity, and can you have that from the head of your table? Put yourself at the head of the table. This is my 10th diamond. Immigrants to the United States from Mexico couldn't speak English when they got there, cleaning hotel rooms. I had this discussion with them, and they became president's team. I'm going to tell you a quick story about Jim Rohn. You know, growing up in Calgary, my dad used to ride an exercise bike every morning, and he used to listen to tapes. And I never listened to the tape, you know, cassette tape. But he used to ride his bike and listen to the tape. And I remember hearing the voice on the tape. I didn't hear the words. But I remember walking into the Herbalife training, and they introduced Jim Rohn, and he started talking. I realized that that was the voice that my dad used to listen to every morning. So Jim was really an important man to me, very special to me. And I went to hundreds of Jim Rohn trainings. But the very last training that Jim Rohn gave was at the Honors in Beverly Hills. How many people were there?